What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my first ever tutorial video. This tutorial video is going to showcase how I make the intro for my playthroughs. I had a couple people ask how I do it, and ask how I do a couple things, so this might not be the only tutorial you ever see from me on how I do stuff. Now just keep in mind while watching the tutorial, it's a tutorial based on how I do it, how I taught myself, and how I learned, and just my style. It's not necessarily the best way to do it, and it's not necessarily the right way to do it, but it's how I do it. So for this, I want to keep two things in mind. That one, you have a little bit of editing experience before, so you're not completely lost. I don't want to explain too many things. And also that you're using Sony Vegas Pro 8 or some variation of Sony Vegas, because that's what I use to edit. You could probably pull this off with Windows Movie Maker or another editing software like Adobe or something, but I use Sony Vegas. So what I do, first let's watch some of the cutscene. I'm going to use my most recent playthrough, which is Fear 3, because that's the one I actually had people request things on. So if you're watching this right now, you're noticing we got the intro here. It says I usually, for my playthroughs, I take the intro of the game I'm doing it on and try to splice together a couple clips so you can kind of get the briefness of the game. In this case, I actually spliced together a lot of things, like cut and pasted a whole bunch of things together, and ended up I wanted to get the title screen here, the cutscene here, grabbing the knife, slash the throat, and it cuts to the title screen. And when the actual title of the game pops up is where I also like to insert my username and what I'm doing. Usually I just say playthrough or live commentary playthrough. Anything you want works. So how did I do that? Magic. No, I'm just kidding. I usually break it down into a couple steps. The first thing I look at is I usually try to keep this in between 15 to 30 seconds. This is obviously way too long because this is the full clip. Like, just for the sake of this, I'm going to show you the things I really did. Besides, I cut it up and, put things together the way I wanted it. One of the things I did actually in the beginning was right here in this loading cutscene. See how it says loading here? I didn't like that. If you actually go back and watch my other video, the actual finished video, you'll see there's no loading here. That's because what I did here, this is just completely small, but it's something I did and something I've done in other projects too. Like if you watch my Pokemon playthrough, I actually had to mask out a background to add space for the text. So what I did is I went to Media Generators, a solid color, I did black. I always click off Maintain Aspect Ratio. I render all my stuff in 12,080 by 720, which is the YouTube width. Then I bring this all the way down to the bottom because it's like reversed for whatever reason. And you might notice that the black mask I have there isn't the exact same color. So what I do is go into its properties, not its effects, but its properties, and I just take the color right off there. Then it perfectly matched, and I just carefully put it over the loading screen so it's covered it, and then no one will ever notice. Isn't that funny? Amazing? Cool? Yes? No? Yeah, I didn't think so either. Okay, so what I really did is what people are probably getting at. How did I, do the name over the ending here, which is right here. Right here, fail. Right here when it pops up with fear. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on for a second here. Just that little clip right here. What I like to do is I do a text overlay. I actually do two, so I'm going to add another. And so I start out with the first one. I usually start out with my username, or whatever name you want. In this case, I also, because you see how fear is spelled because it's abbreviated First Encounter Assault Recon, I abbreviated my name just to kind of, match, just to look cool. And I also took the E out of my name and added a 3 because, fear, they got the 3 there. Isn't that funny? Yeah? No? Nobody? Well, okay. The next thing I do is I like to find a font that will match the title screen's font. In this, actually recently, very recently, I've been looking up new fonts. I'll have two links to two places where I've downloaded actually probably like 20 or 30 fonts. In this case, I was using one called Face Your Fears. I blackened the text color itself, and I added a reddish outline, to imitate blood. I kind of decrease the feather and add the width. Yeah, that looks good. That's not exactly how I had it, but it's, pretty close. I usually play around for quite some time before I actually have an intro I like. But that's half the fun. I really like video editing, and I like playing around with this. Then I try to find it in a place that will look good and not too much. And let's say that's where I wanted it. Something I did here actually was, see how it's like kind of too bright for this? I actually kind of just transparented it a little bit. I think I went to about 55 or so until it's, not as evident. And the next thing I did was, you could see the fear title actually kind of pops in and then kind of jerks around. So with mine, I faded in and I added a transition. In this case, I decided my transition that would work the best is one called portals. I used this for the portals. Then I can kind of see it here. I decreased the border size. I kind of wanted to make it as dirty as possible, and this is one of the more dirty intros, if that makes sense. So then when I play it back, see how my name kind of follows in with the intro there, and then kind of sets off, and you can see the title. And the last thing I do if I want to put in playthrough or live commentary playthrough, whatever I want to do, I copy this so everything I just did right here for this text overlay is exactly the same here. And then I just erase, and I think I said live commentary playthrough, and I always spell check my stuff because I'm a terrible speller. And then I just move it down with placement. Usually I like to put the playthrough part underneath the title and my name above the title. And that way this will have the same settings. I usually do that for the live. And I also make this a little bit smaller because it's a little bit bigger. You can also scale it here if that's your kind of thing. And once it's, somewhere suitable, let's just pretend that's suitable even though I wouldn't actually go with that. No, that looks good, doesn't it? And then it has the same effects and everything. And it fades in. Magic, isn't it? And this one I had a hard cut off because it's that kind of, it's like a horror game. It's just kind of, instantly gone. It's not a nice little fade off. And then I just do that. I just combine this with the whole clip of the intro playing. I don't like to make it too long. Obviously, no one wants a long, long intro for every single video. But yeah, once it's done, it would look like this right here, like I played earlier. See? Loading gone. I cut together the main points like getting in Vettel, getting in Alma, getting in Point Man, Warner Brother Games, Day One Studios. Snap the head, grab the knife, and slice the throat. And then we cut in Fear 3, Syfer's live commentary playthrough. So yeah, that's all I did. That's all there is to it. I usually like to play around for a while to get it as close to likable as I can because I just enjoy doing this kind of thing. And I hope that was a decent tutorial. Sorry if it kind of dragged on, but I wanted to get the point across on how I did it. But yeah, I hope that was helpful to anyone who was asking about it or anyone who's into this stuff and would like to do something like that themselves. I don't see a whole lot of intros for stuff like that, or when I see intros to playthroughs, it's usually like a picture with name over it, which isn't bad, but I take extra pride in my intros. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this tutorial. If you liked it, let me know. If you have a suggestion for future ones, I might be doing like how I do some of the graphics I do with some of my playthroughs, which aren't hard. I use GIMP too, but we'll get into that for another time. So yeah, like I said, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Until next tutorial, I'll catch you guys later.